Welcome to another episode of Blue is the New White podcast. This week's guest is someone I had the pleasure of first meeting a few months ago at the RFMA annual conference. Jeff Victory is the Senior National Accounts Sales Manager for Allpoints Foodservice Parts and Supplies. Jeff is an awesome, intelligent, down-to-earth guy who never thought that he would be in the trades. He grew up in a world of sports and was hoping for a scholarship to propel his career. After a few injuries, he had to let that dream go to protect himself, but worked his way up in the restaurant world to a wildly rewarding career, from washing dishes to management to facilities and eventually starting a service company called Core Mechanical. Jeff and his team scaled Core to over 90 employees before seeking an exit, and now he still works on the part sales side of the industry and can call himself a success by accomplishing everything he sets out to on a daily basis. He is a prime example of another person who used the skilled trades to achieve success by his own definition, no matter how often that decision changed. And as always, this show is not monetized. We don't run ads. We rely on people like you to rate and share these episodes to help spread the word about the skilled trades. So please, if you wouldn't mind, take a moment to write a review and tell somebody you know about the show and have them listen. Thank you again, and enjoy this week's episode with Jeff Victory. Jeff, man, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for jumping on with me today and telling your story. I'm really excited about everything that you have to say. So for those who don't know you, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience?
Jeff Victory, Allpoints Foodservice Parts and Supplies. I've been in the industry for 20 plus years now. Started out serving tables, flipping burgers, washing dishes, worked my way up through the operations side into management, and bartended just about everywhere you can across the state of Texas. Then I slowly jumped into the facility side of the food service business, started working on HVAC, refrigeration, commercial kitchen equipment. Really dug in over a few years and did a lot of technical work and installs, and started my company, Core Mechanical, back in 2012, which we grew up to about 90 employees and ended up selling to a private equity group. And say about 6 to 8 months ago, I started at Allpoints. So still in the industry. It's one of those things that I'll probably never leave because it's really the only thing I know.
Can't keep a good dog down, huh? That's a cool story, and I'm excited to dig into it a little bit more. So, you started off in food service, yeah, and it was like a restaurant atmosphere. So, let's go before that a little bit. What did you want to do when you were in high school?
Man, when I was in high school, I was pretty much guaranteed to be a sports star.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. And that sounds ridiculous, but that's all I did. Never cared about school or academics in any way, shape, or form. I hate to say that. My daughter's like uber smart. I question it sometimes. Like, whose kid are you? Because she's super smart. But for me, I just never cared. Homework was something I did in the 5 minutes before class started, during warm up.
Mm-hmm.
But any sport under the radar I played. My biggest sport was probably soccer. Played soccer for almost 22 years. I played on Olympic development teams. I played in youth professional leagues, all kinds of things. Later on in high school, I had about a trash bag full of college letters and ended up cracking my skull in my junior year. So I was basically told, hey, you're never going to play sports again, yada, yada, yada. And me being the smart person that I am, I said, yeah, you're right. I'm going to stop. Yeah, right. I kept playing and went through my senior year, tore both of my knees, and still rehabbed from that and decided that I'd give it one more shot in college. So by this time, my self-esteem was a little less confident than it was the previous year. So through all this, though, I've never stopped working in a food service industry. I'd say at age 12, I had 17 lawns I mowed. And then by age 14, I was flipping burgers in a restaurant. So high school, what I was going to do after it, I couldn't have told you then. It was, well, I'm probably going to be playing soccer. So things happen though.
That's interesting. And I think that, you know, I don't want to say that that's a common theme, but I know it does happen. And I know that, you know, kids these days, young people who are on that path, you know, they do end up getting injured or whatever, and their entire trajectory just changes in an instant. It sounds like that's kind of what happened to you, except you were resistant to it a little bit at first.
Let's say I had a lot of pride. I didn't want to fail at anything I did in life. So, you know, I did kind of feel like I failed my sports career by getting injured. I still believe that not even half of the sports stars that are in professional sports today were good, you know, athletes growing up. I think they just made it without getting injured, you know, and I'll probably get kickback on that, but I truly feel that there was some sports stars out there that probably never made it to the next level simply because of injuries. Yeah,
I could definitely see that. You know, I wasn't a big sports kid in high school. I loved to watch sports, and it wasn't by choice. I tried to do sports. I was just terrible. You know, I mean, in high school, I was like 5'0", you know, 120 pounds, not a whole lot I could do. You know, tried wrestling, tried football for a little while. I did play soccer in first grade.
And everybody did in first grade.
And I was damn good, mind you, you know, but no, but I could definitely see how you could take that perspective, you know, being that close to the situation. And are your kids in sports right now?
So my daughter, I've tried to get her into golf. She never really latched on anything else, but like I said, she's super smart. So she enjoys reading and doing physics and math and science and things that I had no interest in growing up. So
yeah, neither did I.
All I can do is support that. You know, if that's something she likes to do, then great. I know a lot of kids are into video games and, you know, YouTube channels and things of that now, and so be it. Mm-hmm. That's the wave of the future, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that was me as a kid. I was a big video game guy. Now games are way different now. Like I'm talking Super Mario and Sonic the Hedgehog was like my forte, you know.
I used to crush those too.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I knew all the cheat codes, right? In that opening screen. Yeah. But yeah. And I think that's great. And that's going to be a lot of what we talk about today is, you know, allowing young people to really identify what their definition of success is and, you know, how that can be achieved, whether it be going to college and getting a degree or whether it be going into the skilled trades, you know, whatever path is suited for them is the one that they should be supported with, you know, which often isn't the narrative these days, as I'm sure you know, the narrative is more, hey, if you don't go to college and you don't get a degree, there's really nothing you can do the rest of your life.
The unfortunate thing is all my good friends went to college and they all had scholarships and, you know, and they were actually good at school. So they weren't doing homework in the first 5 minutes every class like I was. The problem is that I was so used to working. I worked throughout high school that I tried the whole college gig, and for me, it was much easier to just continue to pay bills and make money each day.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And that's kind of how I was too. You know, I was very vocal about not going to college. So if I understand correctly, you did attend college for a short period of time. Is that right?
Yeah, I went to community college. And honestly, the reason I did that is because that's what you did after high school, right? Mm-hmm. You know, I still had a full-time job while attending school. And to be honest, I'd say 90% of the classes I took were just what you were supposed to take. Mm-hmm.
Core classes and whatnot. Hey, take these classes until you figure out what you want to do.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to take any of those classes. So how was I supposed to figure out what I wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
I ended up taking like advanced accounting just because I took accounting 1 and then I took accounting 2 and then I ended up taking like I suck at accounting. Like, what was the point of me taking those classes? You know? And so, I guess that's the whole point of a guidance counselor. But 9 times out of 10, I think they're just trying to get people through the system.
Yeah.
I can't say that anybody at age 17, 18 really knows what they want to do for the next 40 years of their professional life.
No. And if they do, all the power to them. If they're one of those kids that's like, hey, I'm going to be a doctor, or I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a dentist. Hey, man, you do you. That's awesome. But Absolutely. You're right. Most people don't know what they want to do, and they're kind of forced down this college path saying, hey, if you don't know what you want to do, pay this ungodly amount of money until you figure it out.
I was going to hold up a big dollar sign and just be like, this is what your future holds. My cousin I just saw them this past weekend. She has a fantastic job. She's worked her way up in the system. She's done great for her family. She is still at age 49 paying college loans.
Yeah. That's tough, man.
That's almost worse than the house payment.
Oh yeah.
At least
it is. You can't discharge college debt in bankruptcy. It can't be discharged. So that debt's going to follow you everywhere.
Yeah. And it seems like school is just getting more and more and more expensive. But the piece of paper that you get at the end of it is the exact same, right? Has that changed?
I don't think so, except for now the supply has outweighed the demand. So now you can get a degree for just about anything. I mean, some of the stuff I was looking online, and I can't even repeat some of it because it's just so ridiculous of what you can actually major in these days. Just crazy, crazy stuff like the art of horseshoeing, like actually like the game Horseshoe. Yeah, there's majors.
No, I thought you actually meant like becoming a blacksmith or farrier.
No, that would be trade school.
Trade. Yeah.
That'd be trade school. No, this is the art of actually playing the game Horseshoe. I think it's called farrier sciences, something. I don't know. You can look it up, but wow. Yeah, it's pretty wild, and that's what I mean when I say the supply has outweighed the demand because so many people are going to college, so many people are getting degrees, And that's the measure from most employers nowadays is, hey, do you have a degree? Which I happen to think is going to change a little bit in the future, especially after this COVID stuff. But anyway, we're going down a rabbit hole. This happens.
Yeah.
I'm going to reel us back in a little bit. So I want to know, because I know that you were working in the restaurants and things like that at a young age. But what was your perception of trade work? Did you know what it was? Did you have family in it, plumbing, electrical, mechanical, any of that?
So my quasi-uncle, I call him my uncles because I knew him my entire life. He's actually a world famous blacksmith.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he's got his own YouTube channel. He lives in the hills of Oregon, and that dude is stinking awesome. I mean, he's done some art for, world famous people. He used to go to different countries and do clinics and, teach. He's had apprentices come to him. So at one time he was considered like top 5 teachers in the world for blacksmithing. And then he was number 1 for something called French reprise. I'm probably butchering that, but yeah, when it comes to bending metal with your hands, that guy knew what he was doing. And I probably used to go to his mill 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. Wow. And, jack around in his metal shop full of sharp objects. And, I got
things we used to do for fun as kids, right?
Yeah. So he used to have all these big hammers, and he used to make his own tools. So he would take a piece of metal and make pliers or make a sledgehammer or, make a big tong or whatever. So I was exposed to quote unquote trades at a young age. My father-in-law has actually been in the HVAC, refrigeration, and food service business for 40 years. So when I met my wife is when I got kind of exposed to the facility side of the business. But before that, it's just there was a local burger joint down the road, and that was the closest job I could get riding my bike.
Wow, that's cool, and to have that quasi uncle, as you called him, in your life as a young kid, I'm sure that kind of helped shape your perception of what the trades actually were, because most people aren't exposed to stuff like that. Most people do. I would bet that most young people don't have any idea what a blacksmith actually does.
No, most people probably think it's something completely just based on the name. To even be able to, differentiate a farrier from a blacksmith, because technically they are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Both do the same thing and maybe reach the same outcome, but at the end of the day, more is towards the equine part of the world. And a blacksmith is just something that creates just about anything that you can with metal. I don't know if you've watched that Forged in Fire show.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so it's a show on History Channel where they basically have guys come in they have all their own little mills in their house. They come in and make knives on a TV show and try to beat each other. And so it's a pretty cool show, but it's just another form of blacksmith, to kind of get to the level where my uncle was. It took him years. I mean, he's 70 now. So, I mean, the guy has probably forgot more than anything I'll ever learn in that industry.
Wow, that's incredible. So on that topic of kids really not knowing blacksmith, look, I'll be honest, when I was in high school, I didn't know what HVAC was. I had no clue. I mean, I knew what an air conditioner was. I didn't know how it worked or anything relating to it. I didn't even know there were people that fixed it, So what do you think the perception is right now in this day and age? And I know it's getting better, but overall, what do you think the perception is about the trades, the skilled trades, whether it be HVAC or plumbing or what have you?
So if you don't know it, I would say the perception is that they're basically trash men. Now, that's specific to American culture.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I will say that European culture is tradesmen are treated with the same respect as lawyers and doctors because of the vast amount of knowledge that they have to keep infrastructure going. European technicians are different from us in the sense that most of them are, I guess, they're city municipalities. And so I don't know too many food service companies in Europe, but I do know that a lot of engineers are your technicians in Europe, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that does make sense. Purveyors of civilization.
Mm-hmm. So I think that for people who don't know, I mean, if you were to go up and ask 10 people on the road what a technician was, I would dare to guess that 80% of the answers would be like, oh, IT guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess it really depends on what trade, because that could be considered a trade as well. But to say, hey, what's a food service technician? I think Rich did that and nobody knew what it was.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that video. That was pretty wild. I reached out to him after I saw that and I was like, dude, it's a good idea.
Do that more.
Yeah, do that more. I would love to hear some more responses of people, just off the street, because
absolutely,
it really is amazing, that this kind of stuff isn't, I mean, it's not taught in school, right? And I'm talking high school. Most of it is not taught in high school. And it's not even like the high school is outwardly bashing these careers. I mean, inadvertently, maybe, through depictions in the media and everything else. But I mean, they seem to be almost flat out ignored in a lot of schools, and some schools do a good job of it, so I'm not speaking to every school, but the vast majority, I think. The
mainstream.
Yeah.
I think a lot of schools still have like a welding program or maybe wood shop.
Yeah.
And I tried to take that class, but they don't teach you how to weld something. There's a lot of theory behind how to weld something, which is great, but I'm a very much hands-on, learn how to do something with my hands, or I can see someone do it. And if I can do it 5 times, great, I've learned it. But to read what it's like to weld and the different temperatures and everything else, and ferrous metals versus non-ferrous metals, and that doesn't resonate with someone that wants to learn how to weld.
No, absolutely not. I like to use the analogy, it's like trying to read how to drive a motorcycle and then, being dropped full speed on the highway, once you actually get into it, right?
Yeah. So, I think practice makes perfect with just about anything you do. But if you're actually passionate about something, you're going to be that much better, because that's going to be what you're learning and doing in your off time, as opposed to being a box that you check each day.
Yes. Yeah. And I also encourage people to really analyze their passions too, because this is something that I've learned through my experience, through the skilled trades. I wasn't passionate about the environment that I was in on a daily basis. I wasn't passionate about being in some of the greasy kitchens and working on the greasy fryers and the stoves. I mean, that's not necessarily fun a lot of times, but it's how you relate that passion to, or that act to what you are passionate about, right? Because I love to help people. So I got great satisfaction of being called into a restaurant and then them saying on a Friday, oh, my oven is down. There's nothing that I can do. I can't sell my pizzas. I can't, my customers are counting on me. And being that guy that goes in, gets them up and running, and sees that look of satisfaction.
The superhero, man.
Yeah, right? That hero mentality. Yeah. So that's something that I was passionate about. I just loved doing that, and then in my case, building something bigger than myself. That's really what keeps me going on a daily basis. And I found that in the skilled trades, even though I wasn't passionate necessarily about turning the wrenches, I was passionate about building a business that could support people, going back to helping people, right? That could support a staff, that could support, a slew of customers. And it's continuing to grow, and I'm continually able to keep supporting more and new people throughout this journey. And I could never have done that without picking up a wrench first.
Oh, yeah. My motto was, we are the customer service agent to the customer service industry.
I like that.
And I would preach that all the time, because everybody gets frustrated, right? But coming from the operational side of being a server, bartender, manager, I remember getting off of a 75-hour week and going to the store just to pick up something, frozen pizza, whatever it was. I could go back and eat, or pick up something for my 2 days off. That was like a Monday and Tuesday, the worst days of the week, right? And so I would go to the grocery store, and you'd see someone just ripping the cashier. And that used to just infuriate me, like to the point to where it's like, I don't have a logoed shirt on that says where I work. Awesome. I'm letting this random person have it, because they're just drilling into this poor cashier, And so it's funny to say that, because I think that happened more than a few times. I used to eat at a restaurant every Friday night after I got off of work. I had a seat at the bar, it was great. And I remember people came in, they sat down at the bar, and they were like, oh, this bar is sticky. Do they even clean this place? Just hammering this poor bartender. And I was like, that's it. You guys want to go outside? This is, you don't even know this person. Treat them with respect. They're here to take care of you, So I had to get it through my dispatcher's head that, listen, these managers are looking for the opportunity for you to treat them as good as they treat their guests every day, And if you can come through, make them smile, impress them, do things that are different from what they witness from the general public each day, then guess what? They're going to love you forever, because they don't get that. Customer service people get beat up every day.
Yeah.
They just do.
They do. They do. And that's tough, and because I think, a lot of us have been in that position too, growing up, either from a young age or whatever. When you first enter the workforce, a lot of people enter through retail or or food service, and from an operational aspect, of course, too. You get your fair share of it, and it's just, it's disheartening, man, because it's just discouraging, because you're there to help, you're there to try to do the best that you can.
Provide a service.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, that's my view on the passions of what you do, to take more of a realistic approach on it, because we've all heard that saying, right? If you're passionate about what you do, you never work a day in your life. And, in my book, I say I disagree with that, but really, after having more conversations, I agree with it. I just disagree that your passion has to be the thing that you're looking at right in front of you. I think that you can find the passions that exist.
Well, I'm passionate about sleeping, but I can't do that for a living. So
right.
That's pretty simple, right?
Oh my gosh, I love sleeping. It's few and far between these days, But I hear you, man, 100%. So what's your view on college, versus the skilled trades? We touched a little bit on the perceptions, and we touched a little bit about that. But as far as the 80 or 90%, and I'm just pulling that statistic out of my ass, I don't know what the actual statistic is, but the 80 or 90% of people that don't know what they want to do the rest of their life when they graduate high school, and they're being told, just go to college and figure it out,
Me personally, I think that trade schools should be a prerequisite. You know how in other countries they say that you need to go serve 2 years in the military before you go on to higher education?
Mm-hmm.
I think not necessarily America needs to have military, for every person, but maybe have a path. Maybe you have certain people that go and serve in the military, and certain people that go and do 2 years of trade school before they jump onto that higher education. Because if you were to ask, did a poll, as you said, 80 to 9%, which is probably not too far off, to say, what are you going to do now? Let's just say everybody across the board is accepted to college, and you can go to whatever college you want. You just have to know exactly what you want. And if it's a 4-year degree, you have to stay in that degree no matter what. How many of those people are going to go, I know exactly what I want? Probably not a high percentage, right? But if you're able to put everybody into a trade school, and there's however many trades that are out there, right? So at least they have a foundation to start making money while they are in college, or while they're trying to figure out what they want to do in college. It would give everybody a foundation of an economic potential in any way. I'm probably rambling on a bit, but the simple fact is that our country is ran on an economy. Going through high school, it's popularity, right? As soon as you walk across the stage, it is about economics.
Yep. No, absolutely.
Bottom line.
Absolutely right. Practical application of knowledge is the second step to knowledge, right? Is being able to apply.
You said it way better than I did.
No, but that's exactly what you're saying is, and I agree with that. I understand completely where you're coming from, because, theory is great and everybody wants to be, smart up here, and that's important, but there's different types of smart up here, but it really still all boils down to what you can do here, mm-hmm. and I think that's a true testament to the trades too, because, the intelligence of the trades is seen anywhere that you look. Whether you're looking out your window of your house or your window of your car, you physically see the intelligence of the skilled trades everywhere. Your office, my office, this wall, it's all a result of trades, mm-hmm. A tradesman built that guitar, and it's just, so I think that there's a lot to be said about that. And I really, I'm intrigued by that idea, of having that option available, to young people to be able to kind of give them that buffer and understand what it is that they truly want out of life and how they define success. Because right now,
2 years after high school.
Yeah, I agree. And that's nothing in the grand scheme of things, right? It's better than them being told that, hey, this is how you succeed, instead of them figuring it out for themselves, you know?
It's better than 20 to 40 grand of debt to figure out that college wasn't for you.
Yep.
Or what if it inspires you? What if you get into a trade that they engineer guitars and you figure out that this is the coolest thing I've ever seen before. I'm going to engineer guitars. And then 10 years from later, that you create the best guitar that's come across the face of the earth. But you were never able to even approach that because you spent 2 years in college trying to get through your basic courses that you've been doing for the last 12 years anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's basically, you know, on a grand scale, I mean, people that could be incredibly skilled in the trades, no matter what the trade is, their talents could be wasted on a college education. I mean, just simply put, they may never know how good they can be at something because they are doing something else that, you know, they don't like, or
they've never been introduced to it.
Right.
We talk about the lack of technicians in this industry at every meeting I've ever went to. Just think there is an abundance of technicians, because there's always an abundance of work. There are far more food service establishments that need service than there are people to do the service. So if there was an abundance of technicians, I wonder what other efficiencies would be forced into the industry. I feel like our industry is still 30 years behind every other one.
Yeah.
You think about what we're doing right now as a telemeeting. Doctors have been doing this for over a decade now, at least.
Yep.
And so this is second nature to them. It's only become, I guess, part of life in the last 2 months for the food service industry. Let's be honest. How many Zoom meetings did you do before February?
Not a whole lot.
You could probably count on two hands in 2019, right?
Yep. And a global pandemic had to force this industry into that. You know why? It's because the bright young minds that are coming up in this day and age don't want to be technicians because they don't know, you know, what's involved in it, or they have this ill perception of what it means to be in the trades. It's this perpetual cycle that's keeping the trades where they're at. When, I mean, this industry, if this industry as a whole, the skilled trades as a whole, was as technologically advanced as some of the other industries out there, the world would look different. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Oh, yeah. Just think about the engineering minds who are technicians, who have turned wrenches for 30 years. I used to work with a guy. I mean, this dude was a bona fide genius. We would walk up on a piece of equipment that was far beyond my skill set, and this dude would fix it. He would look at it for 10, 20 minutes, figure out, oh, this goes here, this goes. Okay, yeah, we can figure this out. You know, we walked into an ammonia system one day, ammonia system ice skating rink. How many of those have you worked on? Yeah, this was my first and last one. So the mechanical room for this thing was the size of my house, and there's valves everywhere. And, you know, the maintenance guy was like, well, watch out there because you could have a flash burn, you know, like telling us all the things not to do. And I'm sitting there like, I don't even need to be in here. This is so far beyond my skill set. The guy I'm with just walks through there, figures it out. And I'm like, what? You need to be like a rocket science, dude. I mean, you're wasting your abilities here turning wrenches for a living. But it's just something that he was good at and he enjoyed. He enjoyed the customer aspect of it, of being able to go in on a Saturday night, fix a piece of equipment, and go home, lay down and go, I accomplished something today.
Yeah. And that's the measure. Most of the time, that's the measure. I know that's the measure for me. You know, laying my head on the pillow at night saying, did I accomplish something today? You know, and I think that's ultimately, you know, what a lot of people strive to do is they need to have something tangible in front of them. It beats the hell out of, you know, staring at spreadsheets for 8 hours a day doing data entry or, whatever, and it's stuck in a cubicle.
More power to those people who do that, because that's
kidding.
a skill set I don't have.
So yeah, you and me both. So where do you see the industry evolving right now? Like, how do you see the industry progressing moving forward, even though it's going slower than maybe the rest of the world?
So even, a couple years ago, we utilized space time a lot to help younger technicians that may not have seen as much equipment as, more experienced guys. I see that that's really going to be the way of the future. You're still going to have some guys that are stuck in the past of, hey, follow me around and carry my tool bag and I'll teach you how to work on stuff. I think more and more you're going to see like the help lightning type of technology out there, to where you can hold your cell phone up to something and a guy can basically walk you through what you need to diagnose on a piece of equipment. I think a lot more equipment is going to become smart itself, to where, like vehicles, you plug it in and it basically tells you what's wrong. I think we're probably 5-10 years away from that. You're still going to have a technician that knows what to do once you figure out what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So how much does any trade evolve? How much has linemen's evolved in the past 50 years, or electricians? Because electricity is still the same. You have different voltages, different wattages, different amps, but it's still the same. You have to run, something from A to B in order to have a current, correct? So the trade can't really evolve in the sense of, you're still going to have to turn a wrench or unscrew something to access a panel. You're still going to have to test leads to figure out what voltage you're getting where. Componentry will get smarter. Things will become Wi-Fi. But I think that's just the natural progression of where technology is at this point. I think we'll have a lot better access to knowledge to work on pieces of equipment via technology like this, because you can sit there and do a training for a manufacturer on a national scale, as opposed to having to send people around the nation. In other words, so if manufacturer X decided that they're going to roll out this new piece of equipment, and they go to all the different ASAs throughout the nation and say, hey, here's this new piece of equipment. Let's walk through it. We need your team to get on a Zoom meeting or a GoTo meeting or Skype, so that they can ask questions. We'll send you a piece of equipment and you guys can walk through equipment as we're doing it here.
Yeah.
There's going to be subtle changes, but as you know, this industry is a lot older. How many guys are our age in this industry?
Probably not a ton.
Which I love, because in 20 years, I'm going to own it all.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I mean, that's the writing's on the wall, the proof is in the pudding, as they say. It's, I think, and we see it on a day-to-day basis, right? There's not a ton of people entering into the industry right now, and there weren't a ton of people entering into the industry even when we did, and that's why we have this huge gap right now. But I think you're right. I think that the advancements, because at the heart of it, the trades are the trades. Electricity is electricity. HVAC is HVAC. And I mean, there's probably some technological improvements as far as, the refrigeration cycles and things like that coming into the mix. But I think the majority of it is going to be in two things, like you said, training and efficiency. Efficiency of getting things done, ways to run wire, ways to thread pipe, and do all these different things. But the actual act of doing it, there's not a whole lot that can manipulate that, because it is what it is. It's like,
and you're still going to have the past knowledge, because I mean, I just think about how much equipment has changed in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
It's, what's the old word? Planned obsolescence.
Mm-hmm.
I can work on a pizza oven from 20 years ago that's still freaking going strong.
Yep.
I can work on a pizza oven that came out 2 years ago, that breaks down 3 times as much as that one from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Ask me how that's, typical, but, a lot of guys are scared of the digital age. As you mentioned, I think it's just going to make things more efficient, to make knowledge easier to get a hold of. And you're not going to have to rely on, Jimmy, the 65-year-old knuckle beaten tech to give you the answer for it. There's you're going to run a skating rink that you've never seen before. But the simple fact is that as things quote unquote evolve, you still have to have a foundation of just simplicity.
Absolutely. Which I think also where this video type learning comes into play too, because with that, we can extend the gap, right? So these 65-year-old technicians that maybe are almost almost done climbing ladders and scaling rooftops and things like that, are going to have the ability, if they don't want to retire or they can't retire, being able to help young
tech support.
Exactly. Tech support. They'll be in an office and they'll be able to see what the apprentice sees or the junior technician sees and do exactly what you're talking about doing. Hey, check this, check that. This is what's wrong with it. This is what you're going to need to do. And now for next time, so I'm excited to see where the industry evolves. And that's why, here at Windy City, we like to try to stay ahead of the curve with the technology. Although I will say, for the older generations, it can be a bit of a challenge, with some of the new technology that's coming out. But I mean, they all understand. They get it. They get that that's even though this industry is evolving slower, from that aspect, that it still is evolving. And so, eventually it's accepted and then,
Well, think about it. 10 years ago, people were still doing paper invoices.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I know as soon as we started in 2012, we didn't do paper invoices. But I think that it was probably pretty prevalent around 2010, 2012. And I don't know very many companies that still do it. I know a buddy of mine works for an oil and gas company. They have a stinking one of those big printers with the paper
like the dot matrix.
Yeah, where it's like yeah, it's like a techno song in their truck, right? And so it's got 3 pieces of paper, and he says we're still using this today, and I'm like, good night, man.
Yeah.
So you guys are the reason, we're killing all these.
You're the reason kids don't want to do this, man. They don't even know what that is. It's like trying to explain to a 5-year-old what rewind means. Mm-hmm. But that's funny. So moving on, I've got to wrap it up pretty soon here, but I like to ask this question to everyone. And I'm very curious to hear what your answer is, but what is your definition of success, Jeff, and how have the trades helped you to achieve it?
Let's see. In high school, my definition of success, I think it changed. That's a good question. I think the definition of success changes with every person. In high school, it's the fastest car and most money and nicest clothes and fame and fortune and all that good stuff, right? Because that's the culture you're in at that point in time. Now I view success in everyday things, whether it's getting out of bed and having a plan for that day and executing that plan successfully. People set out to reach goals daily. I'm very much a goal-oriented person, very much a list guy where I got to mark off certain things each day. So I view success in different ways than most people. I think it's successful that I'm raising a family. I think it's successful that, yes, I have a job and I have a career. But to gauge success and define it, I think it's really what you as a person are able to succeed in. I've successfully poured a bowl of cereal. Am I successful? I am at pouring that bowl of cereal. Can I create a rocket? No, but maybe that's not something I've set out to do. Money comes and goes, but I think if you're successful in what you set out to do each day, that's what the definition is.
And how do the trades help you to achieve yours on a daily basis?
On a daily basis, it's as you mentioned earlier, getting out to that service call and getting a customer back up and running. You go to sleep at night. I remember I used to run thousands of yards of duct, and I'd stay up until 1, 2 in the morning doing construction jobs, wake up again at 6, go run service. And I was the most tired I've ever been in my life, working 100 hours a week and had no time for anything. It was like I was happy to take at least one shower a day. But man, when I did get to go to sleep, I felt so fulfilled. I felt successful in the work that I got done that day. Even though I had a pile of work that I had to do the next day, I knew that if I just kept bearing grin it and get at it, then at some point there was going to be light at the end of the tunnel. So I guess life is what do they call that? Life is a hole, grab a shovel and dig it, So just one of those things. I can't really answer how do you define success and how the trades have helped me.
Yeah.
But it's something I'm passionate about and I will continue to do. I'm going to force my kids into it just because I do feel that there is importance there. Yeah.
No, and I think that's a really good answer, especially when you said that, definitions of success change, because you're absolutely right. My definition of success when I was younger would have been to, be the greatest street racer that, the world's ever seen. And then it changes. I've got daughters now, and, I've got responsibilities, and my idea of success has changed, and it still is just to feel accomplished at the end of every day. Feel like I made progress in some portion of my life, whether it be, professionally, personally, whatever. And that's, and that's what I love about the trades. And so I think that, your answer is perfect. And I think it probably resonates with a lot of people that need to hear it, because if you're listening, your definition of success is going to change. Maybe by the time you're done listening to this podcast, I don't know, but, it's just a fact of life. And so, you need to find ways to be successful and to measure that success on a day-to-day basis. So that being said, Jeff, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show today. Really appreciate your time, man. And congratulations on all your success, and just thanks again for talking to us. Why don't you tell people where they can find you?
I'm only on one social media platform, that's LinkedIn. Just look up Jeff Victory. You can always call Allpoints as well. Basically, I'm an open book, so I don't mind answering just about any phone that comes. So feel free to call, feel free to chat. I'm an open guy.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Jeff.
Thank you, man. Have a good one.
All right, you too.